A sign of affection and now a condition called love. I'm very much aware this is not a popular series, but it is a romance series, which means I'm watching it and effectively rating it. But that's not all I hope to accomplish. Watchworthy is a new series where I talk about pros and cons and see if the series is worth watching. Now then, let's get into it. Out of all of you that watch romance, it's actually more obvious than not what catches your eye. The main selling points are the characters themselves and the chemistry between them. Sure, yeah, stories matter, but you could theoretically get away with just the couple, like in Tsundere Children or The Angel Next Door Spoils Me Rotten. However, this is not really one of those moments. It is a high school shoujo romance with just two main characters, but what's the selling point? Well, at first, a lot of you might think it's that they're polar opposites, which, don't get me wrong, we've already seen this year. It's nothing new. But what does stand out is a girl who, not for a lack of trying, doesn't understand love. As for the guy, well, he's not the greatest character I've seen, giving me vibes of Kurosawa from Say I Love You, and no, I'm not just choosing a character at random. Hananai-kun, the main guy, really does come off as the hot player type who even Hinase, the main girl, finds creepy. She gets asked out almost instantly and it ends up with a clear rejection. Now, to anyone with a sense of boundaries, that ordinarily means to give up, but not in this case. It's pretty clear he was infatuated, not with her looks, but with her actions, which you could say is a step in the right direction. Nonetheless, he was willing to change a lot about himself for a girl he just met, like his hairstyle, his needs and preferences, pretty much anything you can think of just for an ounce of affection. The problem is Hinase doesn't understand affection, or more specifically, doesn't feel the affection that Hananoi's giving her. Regardless, she was nice enough to give this yandere a trial relationship, going above and beyond anything she needed to do. Now, people found that unnervingly weird, for good reason, not to mention fast-paced for episode 1. Thankfully, thereafter, things quickly leveled off. That is until episode 6, which from a story perspective, I find to be the best current episode. But I'll get into that soon. Onto the cast, a large majority of airtime is spent solely on the two main characters. Yes, there are a few secondary characters, sure, but every single one of them does have some sort of impact on the show. Basically, everyone's important. What really stands out to me is that the show delivers on using prior backstory as well as expanding on it when introducing new characters. Even going so far as to use the past to differentiate change and character growth. While this may seem like a necessary standard, it often isn't one in the romance genre, so to see it in full display genuinely means a lot. Another big plus comes from watching multiple episodes. If you can, not saying you should, but if you do set aside the main guy's controlling, selfish, and overall needy behavior, you might find some real and very much needed character growth. To blow the case wide open, episode 6 helps reaffirm what their relationship means to each other as well as lightly dancing around more serious topics. What you'll come to learn is that they both feel pretty vulnerable, but outwardly show it in completely different ways. What I like most of all is probably this one sentence. みんな最後は違う人のところに行くから。Lines like these don't come often, so to dismiss it means to overlook the show's clear attempt at making something of itself. Granted, it had a slow start, but you know what else had a slow start? The Dangers of My Heart, and you know that one went to the moon. My point is to wait. Something else worth mentioning is how few people actually like the couple as is. It's not necessarily even them, but more so how predictably repetitive their dynamic is. Now I have one serious upside and downside to talk about. First up, the animation. It's not good. It's extremely choppy and there's minimal perspective changes per shot. What that means is you'll rarely, if ever, see a completely fluid camera shift. I'll give you an example. This one is Violet Evergarden, and this one, which hardly looks like a camera shift, is A Condition Called Love. Going just a bit further, the art looks bad, not necessarily the characters, but the backgrounds, though with a lack of motion, the characters do look super stiff. In episode 6, I believe, this was a scene that played out. Because of the very large difference in complexity between the background and the characters, they almost look out of place from the series itself, which doesn't look good in my opinion. Now, yes, there are positives. A big one is the opening and ending themes, which many people liked, me included. I would say though that the bigger surprise was the ending theme, given it came from a song released 2 years ago. It just so happens that the singer, Mina Okabe, is bilingual and can also sing in Japanese. Because of that, the Japanese version sounds incredibly similar to the original. Seeing as the song also perfectly fits the show, it came across audiences positively. Now the question is this worth watching? Well, yes and no. It is worth watching as a lighthearted series, but just saying it'll get better doesn't make up for subpar content. It's an instance of the ends not justifying the means, which, if you agree, it means you're not willing to settle for worse content, which is fine. On the other hand, if you feel like digging deeper and genuinely like watching romance anime, to a low degree, this might be enough for you. Another plus is the fact that you don't have to wait till episode 12, like most others, for a satisfying romantic conclusion. What this does is allow the show to wrap up furthering the romance in place of lore and plot, which at least should lead to character growth as well as possibly a more healthy and dynamic relationship. Now, to be clear, this is an educated guess. I'm not a prophet, nor did I read the manga, so I'm in the dark just as much as you are. On to the rating with everything factored in, I just don't see this as a failing anime. Sure, it's not perfect, but neither are these characters, and with genuinely compelling backstories, their actions feel more humanized, which effectively helps the viewer connect more. Grading it overall, I would have to give it a C-. Sure, it's a fine series, or at least an attempt at one, but that doesn't mean bad first impressions mean nothing. Even with a strong second half, I really see no way of calling this average. On the other hand, if it does much worse than I anticipate, feel free to give it a D or lower. Now, if somehow episode 1 was better, could it possibly be a C-tier series? It's not out of the realm of possibilities, but sadly, I do have to rate it for what it is, apart from what it could have been. For anyone wondering, this is the way I'll be grading anime. Please tell me in the comments what you think of this new series, what to change, what to add, what you might want to know as the viewer. I'm here for all of it. Thank you to everyone that watched till the end, and as always, I'll see you next time.